What do you guys make of Toronto's hot start to the year? They're second in the East.
There's a
They're on
lot.
a 5-game win streak. This was a team that had a lot of talent. We just questioned how it was all going to fit together, and it feels like things are clicking for them right now. What have you seen, John?
The first few weeks was a little bit slow because they're adding so many new pieces. Brandon Ingram coming in and Emmanuel quickly as well. And I think that one of the biggest differences, because their half-court offense top 3 in the league right now, it's been the shooting improvement. They went from 23rd to 9th in three-point shooting percentage. And I think a big part of that is Brandon Ingram opening up the game, one as a half-court creator, but then also getting quickly back. I think that it adds a much-needed injection of three-point shooting. I think the other part of it, too, is they've assembled a lot of talent, and one of the players who's kind of quietly under the radar taking a big step forward is RJ Barrett. I mean, in every year of his career, the best he shot from mid-range is 40%. And so far, he's making 52% of his mid-rangers in the half court, sample of 58 attempts. And you kind of stack that on top of this group kind of getting some good play from younger guys like Colin Murray-Boyles defensively. And this, to me, was a team in kind of the preseason. You were one of the first people to say, I think this can be a playoff team. And I started to feel that way the more and more I've kind of watched this team this year. And I do feel like this is a team that can be a very frisky first round opponent.
This was like my East darling.
Yeah.
Giannis gets traded to a team. I think that they're like a dark horse contender because of the talent around, like what would be Giannis. But they have a lot of talented players, and I think that number one, I want to highlight Brandon Ingram's importance to this half-court offense. I think a big reason why the Toronto Raptors are top 5 half-court offense in the NBA right now is because of his impact as a shot creator in the half-court. It has allowed Scotty Barnes to be more of a roamer and to play more free offensively and be more of a versatile Swiss Army knife, and he's shooting well from 3 to start the year, and also just focus more on defense. He's playing at an all defensive caliber level. Right now, he is near the top in terms of stocks, and he is doing everything. He is guarding the perimeter, being a shot blocker. He has the 5th best shot block rate in the NBA right now. He actually has a better block percentage than Evan Mobley and Rudy Gobert this season. And he's a 6'8" versatile wing defender. So he's really been awesome. He'd get my vote right now for being an all NBA defensive team player. And underrated gem, just Sandro Mamukelashvili and how well he's playing. They have one of the best bench units, and shout out to Seton Hall. I went there, so did Dells, and Drew went there as well. Shout out to Seton Hall. Is it Seton Hall, he was great for them, and now he's playing great in the NBA, finding his role, and it's one of the best value contracts of the offseason. Yeah. And he's been one of the best bench players. He shoots well from 3, and he's really not a center. They mask his defensive weaknesses as a center wisely by usually having Colin Murray-Boyles be the 5 or Scotty Barnes being in those lineups and being the 5 and a rim protector. And Sandro, he fits well with them defensively, his switchability, he's versatile, and he has one of the highest net ratings on the team right now. I think his net rating on the floor is like plus 14 when he's there. They have been smoking other bench lineups, and the defenders they have, Jacoby Walter, Jamal Shedd, like all these guys are making a real big impact, and it's been really cool to see.
You want to go?
Yeah, you go ahead.
Toronto's. I tweeted this question on Twitter because I thought it was interesting. I was like, "Yo, is Toronto good or is this like a gimmick?" Because the way they've been playing, they've been super impressive. They've been one of the most efficient teams in 2-point percentage. They're 5th in 2-point percentage, and I think that's just. They're 3rd in field goal percentage, so they've been really efficient. Now, they're not the best 3-point shooting team. They have a high clip, but they don't take a ton of threes, which tells me that they know their identity. And I think their identity is getting into the mid-range, getting into the paint. They've been also one of the most efficient teams. I think they're I have the number. Yeah, they're 11th and just picking just points per possession as the roll man. So they've been able to set screens, move the ball, get in their offense, get closer to the lane. I think, like you mentioned, shout out to Brandon Ingram. He's been hooping. We kind of knew he'd be that guy, just that primary half court scorer. He's the best guy they have. Scotty Barnes has been hooping. I think the rookie Colin Murray-Boyles, when he gets in, he shows his defensive presence. Jamal Shedd off the bench. Emmanuel quickly has been extremely efficient. 73% at the rim is dope for him too, especially as a small guard. Are they legit? I don't know. But one thing I can say is Toronto had the talent. It was just about how it fit, how they put it all together. In a year where Boston's out, Indiana's out. We saw last year Indiana make a charge to the finals. Mm-hmm. In the East, you really never know. You had Miami as Miami as an 8 seed did it not too long ago. Yeah. The Knicks last year were down big 2 games in a row and came back on Boston.
Yeah.
So, like, honestly, genuinely, I could say no right now, but in the East, you really never know.
How are we at a point where like the West is just more predictable than the East in terms of like the teams that we think is going to like make it out?
I mean, last year we were pushing Cleveland, Boston all year, and both of them didn't even make the ECF.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So before that, we thought it would be the Bucks and Boston, but then Miami jumped in front and said, "No, we're here." You know, so it's like, who gonna make? I know we've had Miami and Boston make the finals a few times, but in just terms of the wildness, I mean, we had Philly damn near almost beat Boston in the second round one year. You know, it's just. It's a lot of parity in the East, and I think it's fun because now this year we have teams like Detroit, Orlando. They're going to be in the playoff talks. You know what I'm saying? Miami's back in the hunt, so it's going to be another year where we could see a new team in the ECF.
Yeah, a lot of teams are playing great. Like Atlanta is playing awesome, and when Trae Young comes back,
Detroit.
Yeah, I know that there's been like smoke around them, but I think that he'll make them better when he comes back. As long as you make sure Jalen Johnson gets his touches.
He's been insanely good.
Yes, as long as you make sure they're not just running Trae offense. You make sure that you sprinkle a lot of Jalen Johnson.
That is Trae, man. Like,
but JC, do you think that at this point, like the East has become underrated?
Yeah, I was. You know, it was funny. I was actually talking to my boy the other day on the phone about that. So we all, you know, we always say, or like for the better part of like, I felt like it's been a decade that the West has always been like, you know, the better conference, and even then, right now, I think it is. But just simply looking at the standings the other day, it just like the positions or whatever, I feel like the East. It's obviously not as top heavy, but there's a lot of really good teams. Like if you look at I think the 11th, 10th, 9th seed in the Western Conference, it's like it's really bad. Whereas with the East, you got like, you know, people with solid records running for the 10th, 9th, 8th, 7th seed. I mean, think about it. If we had like Halliburton playing this year, we had Jason Tatum playing this year, the conference would be much better. But I think it's evenly spread out. Like we've all been saying, like we've seen teams that nobody picked to go to the finals go to the finals. You got to wake up for Toronto this year. They look really good. Orlando's like decent or whatever, but just anything can happen. And I just think like it's just overblown. I think the East has some talent, and I think a lot of people, NBA fans that I encounter, they're quick to say the West is better, which I think it is. But the East is a competitive conference, and they have multiple players, like superstar level players that are out. Like Trae Young's been out for a while because he got hurt against the Nets. You got Jason Tatum, you got Tyrese Halliburton. So I think it's overblown. I don't think the East is that bad, and I can't really put my finger on who I think is gonna make it out the East. Like I can say maybe Cleveland, I can say the Knicks, but time and time again we've seen the 8th seed make to the finals. So I don't know. I think the East is definitely. I think a lot of people are definitely sleeping on the Eastern Conference. I think there's a lot of quality teams in there. And, you know, I think the West is better, but I don't think it's like way better. Like, you know, how a lot of people make it seem. I feel like a lot of people casually just say that the West is better, but I think the East has a lot of fantastic teams.
I think the fun thing about the East having those surprise teams you guys mentioned is that's always the team that finds their identity. In 2021 it was the Hawks. We saw multiple times it was the Miami Heat. And I think one thing that we're seeing now with this Toronto team is not just the fact that their half-court offense has significantly improved so far this year, but they're also playing at the highest fast break rate in the NBA. And they're kind of leaning into that more and more and finding a balance between the two that they haven't had since 2019-20. And ironically, it's the last time they got off to a start this good.
I like the distribution. I like the distribution of the offense. I like that there's 3 players basically averaging 20 points. I like that Brandon Ingram solidified himself as a very good half-court scorer. I like I said, RJ Barrett's averaging 19. Scotty Barnes is averaging 19. Scotty Barnes is taking a leap as a jump shooter. I know it may not be on a lot of attempts, but I believe right now, I checked yesterday, he's close to 40%. Defensively, he's great. They're a great offense so far. I mean, it's been a limited amount of games, but they're a great offense. They're a great 3-point shooting team. They don't turn the ball over. I like what I see from Toronto. Yeah, defensively, I think the middle of the pack defensively, the team that's not their identity. I think their identity is obviously on offense, and I don't know. I think they're dangerous. I would have to look at their schedule because I want to see them like go against not quality opponents, 'cause they've had some quality opponents in there, but like I would like to see them against like the Knicks some more. I would like to see them against Cleveland. I would like to see how they stack up against some of the great teams in the Western Conference, just to see where this team is headed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I saw Riv's tweet. You know, they're still in question because they're a young team, but whenever that schedule starts to strengthen, I'll definitely be tuned in to see how they play.
That shit fried me. People got really upset at me for asking. I was like, I want to know.
No, yeah, it's
it's not a bad
the
question,
Toronto Raptors. they've been great and they have figured out their identity. And I like how their coach has kind of pivoted away from what wasn't working to begin, because they started off the season as trying to be like a defensive first team where they would pick you up full court. They would exert a ton of energy, and they kind of realized, okay, based on your defensive personnel, you can't really do that. Yeah. So they've kind of shifted their philosophy, and it's been for the better. And that's why they had a slow start to start the year.